I stand before you on behalf of 45 million Americans, 45 million people who feel they can't purchase their first home, 45 million people who feel like they can't start a family, 45 million people who have dreams of opening up a business or going to public service but are held back by a mountain of debt. 45 million who are wondering if they can retire because of the loans they took out for themselves or on behalf of their children. They are the debt generation. Many of them played by the rules, followed the advice of our parents, our leaders, and got an education. We are told going to college opens a world of opportunity, but far too many, it's accompanied by a world of anxiety, stress, and never-ending debt. We are told by some politicians that this debt is our fault, that if we want to achieve the American dream, we have to lift ourselves up by our bootstraps. Well, we're here today to say student debt is not the result of bad choices or behavior. It is the result of a system that tells students to get an education and go to college in order to have a stable life, but then does not provide the resources to afford that education. It is the result of a two-tiered education system, one for the rich whose families can afford tens of thousands of dollars for higher education, and another for the poor and the middle class who have to pay off that education for the rest of their lives. America's collective debt now sits at almost 1.6 trillion. Nearly 45 million Americans now have student debt, and the amount of debt an average student carries is rising. Young adults who graduated college with student debt now have a negative net worth, with median net worth that is less than the 90,000 it was in 2013. And parents are increasingly jeopardizing their retirement to pay off loans they took out on behalf of their kids so they can go to college. The scourge of student debt does not affect all Americans equally. Students of color face a higher risk of defaulting on their loans and struggle to find jobs to pay off these loans due to discriminatory hiring practices. First generation and immigrant college students face much higher rates of default. And women who already face a wage gap and workplace discrimination owe 2/3 of a total student loan debt. That's why when I ran for Congress, I was asked over and over again, why is Washington ignoring this crisis? And what will I do to help fix it? And I promised them that I would do everything in my power to end the scourge of student debt once and for all. And so today I am excited to join my colleagues in keeping that promise. What my bill does is simple as it is revolutionary, as Senator Sanders says. It cancels all of 1.6 trillion student loan debt. No exceptions, no questions asked, full cancellation. Americans will no longer wonder if they can buy a home or start a family or open a business or retire. You might ask, why full cancellation? What about the people who can pay off their student debt? Well, let me say this. The children of Donald Trump aren't asking or taking out student loans. Canceling student debt is a problem of the poor and the middle class, not of the rich. So rather than making exceptions, let's end this crisis entirely once and for all. You might also ask, who will pay for it? Well, economic estimate that forgiving student debt will generate up to $1 trillion in economic activity. But we can go a step farther. And as I always say, America does not suffer from scarcity. We suffer from greed. So we can ask speculators on Wall Street to pay a small financial transaction tax, which would fully fund student loan forgiveness over 10 years. The American people bailed out Wall Street. It's time for Wall Street to bail out the American people.